Welcome back to part 3 of our Software Engineer Roadmap Explainer. If you've been following along, we've been building up to something pretty huge. Today, we're shifting gears. We're moving from foundational skills right into uncovering those specific, actionable, and seriously high-paying career routes that are shaping the industry for 2026. So, just a super quick callback to part 2. We established that having your foundational skills down, plus being AI ready, means the era of just floating around as a generalist, that's fading fast. The market is absolutely demanding deep expertise right now, which means it is strictly time to choose your specialization.
Here is our roadmap for today. Number 1, the engineering crossroads. 2, the 4 highest-paying tracks. And 3, choosing your specialization.
Section 1, the engineering crossroads. Section 2, 4 highest-paying tracks. Okay, let's dive into this. Looking right at these salary tiers, the financial stakes become incredibly clear, don't they? We've got full stacks starting at a really healthy baseline, with DevOps and SRE climbing even higher. But wow, just look at that massive, towering premium all the way at the top for machine learning and AI engineering. The ceiling there is practically off the charts right now. Let's unpack that top tier, machine learning and AI engineering. Think of these folks as the architects behind intelligent systems. Right now, hands-on experience with large language models, that is the absolute golden ticket. It's commanding the market's absolute highest premium, mostly because literally every company wants AI, but very few engineers actually know how to build these complex models. But hey, looking past all the hype, the day-to-day reality here is rigorous. You're going to be heavily focused on model tuning, optimizing weights, and wrangling massive data pipelines, which, is basically a polite way of saying you'll be doing a ton of math. So ask yourself, does your personality fit this highly technical profile? If you love getting lost in statistics, that massive market premium might be yours for the taking. Now, while AI definitely gets all the flashy headlines, our second path is what actually keeps the lights on. DevOps Insight Reliability Engineering, or SRE. These are the engineers responsible for automating, scaling, and maintaining the uptime of wildly complex cloud infrastructures. They are the highly paid backbone of modern tech operations. The daily grind for this track focuses heavily on cloud automation and system reliability. It requires a very specific, calm under pressure mindset. You really need to be the kind of systematic, level-headed problem solver who doesn't panic when the alarms start blaring. When things break, you are the digital first responder. Moving on to our third path, we have full stack engineering. These are the highly versatile builders. They're capable of managing both the front-end user experience and the back-end server logic. Because they can build things end-to-end, they're the ultimate choice for versatility and are heavily favored by fast-paced tech startups. If you go this route, your day-to-day focus is all about end-to-end feature creation. You could literally be designing a database schema with your morning coffee and styling UI components by the afternoon. It's a lot of context switching, for sure, but it perfectly suits product-focused generalists who just love variety and hate being boxed into one tiny corner of a codebase. Finally, let's talk about the structural engineers of the tech world, backend and data engineering. These folks focus intensely on core system architecture, database performance, and heavy data flow. They meticulously build the invisible, yet completely essential foundations of our apps. Their day-to-day revolves almost entirely around complex system design. And here is a really fascinating takeaway for you. Mastering this specific track, knowing how to build robust systems that can handle ridiculous amounts of data, is often a literal fast-track ticket toward a senior engineering title. Okay, let's ground all of this with some hard numbers. $140,000. This is a highly realistic baseline salary expectation for a versatile, startup-favored full-stack engineer right now. But then check out this jump, $140,000 to $180,000. This is the incredible salary uplift possible for DevOps and SRE roles, especially when you start adding highly sought-after cloud certifications to your resume. And this brilliantly illustrates all 4 tracks perfectly. When we put the day-to-day focus right next to the ideal personality fit, it gets so much easier to seamlessly compare the realities of each path. So, take a mental snapshot here. Which of these jumps out at you? Which personality fit actually sounds like how your brain is naturally wired? But wait, hold on a second. Given that massive, unlimited ceiling we saw earlier in AI, should you just blindly chase the highest number? Should everybody watching this explainer just pivot into machine learning? Section 3. Choosing your specialization. Look, a truly successful 2026 career strategy is basically a balancing act. On one side, you've got your personal interests and natural strengths. On the other side, market demand and salary premiums. You absolutely have to balance what you enjoy doing every single day with where the market is throwing the most cash. Chase only the money, you'll burn out. Do only what you love without any market demand, your salary is going to stagnate. You need both. Which leads us to the core advice of this entire explainer. Match your specialization to your interest and market demand, rather than chasing the highest number alone. Finding that sweet spot where your natural talents intersect with a highly lucrative market track, that is exactly how you avoid burnout and build a genuinely sustainable career. So what does this all mean for your future? What actually happens once you pick your path? How do you climb from a standard junior developer all the way up to staff engineer or even CTO? Well, in part 4, we're covering the exact salary ladder to get you there. It's going to be a total game changer, so you absolutely won't want to miss it. Welcome back to the explainer. We have finally made it to the highly anticipated finale of our 4-part series on the 2026 software engineer roadmap. If you've been hanging out with us through parts 1, 2, and 3, you know we've already covered a ton of ground. We've mapped out the terrain, we've built the foundation, and we've picked our paths. But today is all about the ultimate financial breakdown for software engineers in the US looking ahead to 2026. We're looking exclusively at the numbers, mapping out exactly what this career path pays when you play your cards right. Okay, let's dive into this. Just to do a quick rapid-fire recap. Remember back in part 3 how we broke down those specific high-value specialization tracks? We talked about how you just can't be a generalist anymore if you really want to stand out. Well, today, we're going to see exactly what those choices translate to in your bank account. We're attaching hard, tangible dollar amounts to those tracks and showing you the exact financial stakes of your career choices. Section 1. Climbing the salary ladder. The early years, entry to mid-level. So I want you to think of your career as a literal mountain climb. You've got to start at the base and progressively scale your way up the wealth brackets, right? For an entry-level software developer right now, that base sits squarely between $70,000 and $115,000. This is your starting block. It's where you prove you actually have the foundational skills we talked about in part 2. But as you build that experience and reliability, you bridge into the mid-level tier. And here we see base salaries step up pretty significantly, ranging from $110,000 to $148,000. This mid-level is where you transform from someone who just writes code into someone who actively solves real business problems. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the massive gap between base salary and total compensation. While that entry-level base might max out around $115,000, total compensation at major tech companies, when you start factoring in bonuses and equity, can push that entry-level package all the way up to $150,000. When you target the right companies, your total financial footprint is just so much larger than your monthly paycheck, even at the very beginning of your climb. Section 2. Senior and leadership tracks. Ascending to the top. As we transition into the upper echelons, the air gets a bit thinner and the expectations are definitely much higher. But look at this massive jump. When you break into the senior level tier, you're looking at salaries in the US rocketing from $142,000 up to well over $243,000. And notice that plus sign. $243,000 is not a hard ceiling for senior engineers. It's honestly a benchmark for top performers. At this stage, you aren't just writing good code. You're architecting systems, you're leading major initiatives, and you're acting as a force multiplier for your entire team. But what happens after you hit senior? This is a really critical point in the 2026 roadmap because the path actually diverges here. Step 1 is achieving that senior level we just discussed. But step 2 is where you have to make a choice. You can either stay highly technical as an individual contributor, moving into a staff or principal engineer role where you're basically the ultimate technical authority without having to manage people. Or step 3, you pivot into the engineering manager and CTO track, where your focus shifts entirely to scaling teams, managing big budgets, and steering the technical vision of the entire company. Both of these tracks push that compensation ceiling even higher, but they require entirely different skill sets. Section 3. The specialization salary premium. Your career cheat code. So, the crucial point is this 12 to 56% specialization premium. I want you to think of this as the ultimate plot twist in our series, a secret weapon that acts as a multiplier to every single rung on the ladder we just climbed. It is arguably the single most important lever for wealth accumulation in the tech industry today. Let that sink in for a second. Depending on what you specialize in, you could be making over 50% more than a generalist sitting in the exact same level of the company hierarchy. No way, right? But it's true. To put it in crystal clear terms, the specialization premium is that massive 12 to 56% boost to your compensation achieved by mastering a high-demand, specific technical track rather than just remaining a generalist. This is exactly why we spent all of Part 3 talking about choosing your lane. By applying those specialized tracks, whether it's AI, cloud architecture, data engineering, you name it, you directly activate this premium. It accelerates you up the salary ladder dramatically faster than peers who try to be a jack of all trades. In 2026, the generalist gets left behind and the specialist gets the premium. Section 4. Complete 2026 Roadmap Recap. The view from the summit. Okay, we've gone through the numbers and seen the potential. Now it's time for a rapid-fire synthesis of our entire journey together. Our roadmap has taken us through 4 distinct phases. In Phase 1, we mapped the overall landscape and the different tiers of the tech industry. In Phase 2, we locked in on building those non-negotiable foundation skills. In Phase 3, we strategically chose a high-value specialization track. And finally, here in Phase 4, we saw exactly how all of that translates to scaling the salary ladder. These aren't just isolated steps. They are a continuous, flawless combination that unlocks your maximum market value. So here is the complete, cohesive formula for dominating the 2026 tech market. First, master your foundation skills. Absolutely do not skip this step. Second, choose a high-value specialization tier. Third, use that specialization to secure the 12 to 56% salary premium. And fourth, use that momentum to climb from an entry-level base of $70,000 all the way up to leadership roles commanding well over $243,000. That is the blueprint, guys. That is the winning strategy for your career. Section 5. Your next action step. Executing the plan. We've spent a lot of time talking about theory across these 4 parts, but theory doesn't deposit dollars into your bank account, does it? Execution does. So the ultimate question is this: what is the one specific action you absolutely must take right now to lock in your 2026 trajectory? You have the map, you know the destination, but what is your absolute very first step? Your action step is simple, but it is non-negotiable. Choose one foundational skill from Part 2 of this series and dedicate the next 30 days to mastering it. Just one. Don't try to boil the ocean here. Pick one core competency, give it your complete, undivided focus for a month, and officially kick off your journey up this ladder. I'm going to leave you with this final thought to ponder. The numbers are out there, the demand is incredibly real, and the ladder is waiting for you. Are you ready to put in the work to claim your place at the top of the 2026 software engineering ladder? Or will you let that massive specialization premium pass you by and go to someone else? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this incredible deep dive here on The Explainer, and I will catch you next time.